We're on.
Welcome to Parks, Recreation and Community Services Commission regular meeting, May 15 on Monday. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sasatrian?
Present.
Fuad?
Here.
Michaels?
Present.
Wu is absent. President Kalfayan?
Yes.
The agenda for the May 15, 2017 regular meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on or before Friday, May 12, 2017. Item 2, upcoming council agenda items.
President Kalfa and members of the commission, we have two agenda items coming up for tomorrow, May 16th. The first one would be the report for Cerritos Elementary School multi-purpose field project, award a professional services agreement to PlaceWorks Incorporated in the amount of $127,000 to conduct an EIR. EIR is part of the environmental process, and would like to get into a PSA with PlaceWorks. The second item on the agenda tomorrow night would be motion approving a grant and license agreement with Shane's Inspiration for the all-inclusive playground project at Verdugo, north end of Verdugo Park.
Thank you. Next, please.
Next is item 3, commission staff comments.
Yeah, I had a question. When I drive through Griffith Park now, particularly Betty Davis picnic grounds, all the sycamores have that disease, blighted disease that's coming to Southern California. I'm wondering what the city of Glendale is doing to help its trees survive this crisis.
Yes, President Kalfa and members of the commission, we have been in contact with our tree vendor, WCA, West Coast Arborist, and have done an assessment of our sycamore trees. The Polyphagus short-hole borer, which is the pest that is causing havoc on sycamore trees in Southern California, has been going on for several years, and Orange County has been devastated with it. And we've recently found it over at the Betty Davis Park in Burbank, just at our borders. Luckily, we have not experienced that. Verdugo Park is our biggest sycamore grove, and we have had it inspected the last few months, and we have not had any of the pests at that park, luckily. What we've done is we're asked them to give us a proposal for a pre-injection of a chemical that helps the trees sustain themselves, just like getting the flu shot, so you can actually defeat the flu and be able to sustain yourself. This injection that is injection into the trees through the roots and through the trunk will help the tree. It has shown that it is effective. May not be 100% effective, but better having that than not. So we're currently evaluating a proposal we've received. We've had communication with the city manager's office. In the coming months, we will likely go and present a report either to council or a report through CM's office to get an allocation to look at treating our sycamore trees. We have roughly about 664 sycamores in the parks, along with London plane trees, which are of the same species. And we're looking at putting that as one big package and going forward with the injection. It is not inexpensive. It is a costly proposal, and it is something that would have to go on for every 2 years or so to be able to have the trees sustain themselves. But it's something we're looking at. We want to prevent it from coming into our parks, and we're doing the best we can.
I understand it also affects oak trees and many species, citrus trees.
It sure does. President Fuad, Commissioner Fuad, apologies. It does affect other trees as well. But the main focus right now is with sycamores. Every tree has its pest that devastates it. And sycamore and this Polyphagus short-hole borer are kind of enemies at this point. There are some trees, oak trees, that also can be impacted by the same borer. But just like any other borers, once they come in, they will find themselves the weakest trees and try to infect those. The key for us is to make sure we keep the trees healthy. And if the trees are healthy, they can fight it off. And with the injection, we're hoping that it'll add to the ability for the trees to fight off the disease, the blight.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have the funds for prevention?
We are currently working with the city manager's office to allocate the funds specifically for this purpose as well.
Next, please.
President Kalfa and members of the commission, we do have several activities and events taking place in the Community Services and Parks Department between now and the next meeting. On May 17th, from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., we have the hashtag Age Out Loud Senior Street Fest at the Maryland Paseo. On May 18th, we have a first-class roast of Fire Chief Greg Fish at the Vertigo event venue from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. On May 20th, from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m., we have Bliss in the Wilderness Workday at Duke Wilderness Park. On May 20th, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., we have the One Glendale After School Youth Sports Program Soccer Season Championship Day at Pacific Community Center. On May 21st, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., we have a Tyrus Wong Memorial Tea at Brand Park Tea House. On May 24th at 7:10 p.m., we have Glendale Dodger Night at Dodger Stadium. The 90-plus birthday celebration at the Adult Recreation Center will be celebrated on May 25th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. May 26th from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., we have a tea night out at Pacific Community Center. On May 26th from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., we have a workshop called Your Money Mind. It's for ages 14 through 24 at Pacific Community Center. On June 3rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., we have the Know Your Natives Native Plant Hike and Program at Dugmajan Wilderness Park. June 9th from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., we have another tea night out at Pacific Community Center. On June 10th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., we have a Riverwalk workday at Glendale Narrows Riverwalk. On the splash pads at Cerritos Park and Pacific Park will be operational daily from June 15th through September 15th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then operational weekends only from September 16th through October 15th, again from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're offering a hula festival at Brand Park Tea House on June 18th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we're back here on June 19th for another Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting. For more information, please call 818-548-2000 or visit www.glendalega.gov/residents/calendar. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Next, we have item 4, oral communications. I don't have any cards. Item 5, consent items. At A is approval of the minutes of the Commission regular meeting held on April 17, 2017.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Commissioner Sasatrian? Quad?
Yes.
Michaels?
Yes.
Who is absent? President Kalfayan?
Yes.
Item 6, action items. At A, Art Happens Anywhere, AHA. At 1 is motion to approve the Art Happens Anywhere, AHA art proposal entitled The Word on the Street by artist Scott Froscher.
Good afternoon, President Kalfayan, members of the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission, and staff. My name is Sharon Mann Garrett. I'm the liaison to the Arts and Culture Commission. And I'm here today to present to you a proposal that the Arts and Culture Commission has received for a public art project. The program is called AHA, which stands for Art Happens Anywhere. The AHA program is in its inaugural year. It's our first year doing it, and it's designed to inject interesting and interactive experiential art, such as storytelling, music, dance, street art, etc., in the interior and exterior pedestrian-friendly districts throughout the city. The AHA program is truly a pop-up arts program. It's supposed to delight the public with art that they don't expect and deliver it in unexpected ways. A request for proposals for the AHA program was issued in November, and artists may submit proposals until the funding has been exhausted. We've allocated $29,000 to fund the AHA program. To date, there have been 15 submissions that have been received for review, and 2 submissions have passed the initial screening and are being developed in cooperation with the artists and the affected city departments. The only art proposal, The Word on the Street, by artist Scott Froscher, has been recommended for funding by the Arts and Culture Commission. Paraphrasing the artist, by utilizing the materials and visual language of street signs, but replacing the restrictive language, for example, stop or don't enter, with positive affirmations such as go or do enter, the goal of this work is to surprise and delight viewers by giving them a positive and reassuring message in an ironically familiar format. The artist has finalized its proposal and locations according to the rules and guidelines developed by Community Services and Parks and Public Works, Traffic and Transportation. Library Arts and Culture staff has visited each location and verified its viability from an artistic and safety standpoint. The length of the installations would still require some negotiation. However, the AHA program is designed to provide temporary art installations, which normally means less than a year. So we felt like we should come before you and see if this is something you're interested in before we have this artist develop this project any further. This is a somewhat labor-intensive and materials-intensive program, and we didn't want the artist to continue with it until we received your blessing or your redirection. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Does this cost the city? Is the city supposed to contribute something or pay for it?
This would be paid for by the Urban Art Fund. The Urban Art Fund is comprised of contributions from commercial developments. When a developer wants to develop a commercial project here in Glendale, they can either put 2% for art into their project or give 1% for art to the Urban Art Fund. Because of the recent flurry of development, the Urban Art Fund has reached a considerable amount of money. For the 215 to 218 work plan, we had allocated a total of $380,000 from the Urban Art Fund.
And this is for 2 years, you say, these signs?
These signs, we have not negotiated the exact amount of time, but less than a year is typically what we do for temporary programs. If this was something that the Parks Department and Commission wanted for longer, we could certainly leave them longer.
And have you looked at other programs? I mean, this is a good, in your view, this is a good use of the funds versus another art project?
Yes, we have evaluated 15 submissions. The AHA program has a very specific theme, and it is to surprise the public with unexpected art in unexpected ways. It's supposed to stimulate the public with the prospect of art, with the understanding of art, and with art that is designed to provoke.
I think it's a really cool project. I liked all the details.
You're happy with it?
Yeah, very much so.
As far as the installation, I'm assuming this is public works types poles. Are they going to be installed specifically for the signs, or are the signs going to be installed on existing locations?
My understanding is that this artist will install the signs with some temporary underground apparatus. He's vetted that through our Public Works Department.
Okay, so Public Works is approving of the installation type, that it would be sturdy enough, though temporary?
Yes, indeed. At least preliminarily, we have run this program by everyone. Yourselves would be the last stop. And as I said, we didn't want to go too far with the amount of work being asked for from the artist before we approve the funding.
I have a question. This artist has come up with these signs, right? This is the one we'll be seeing it?
Yes.
Sorry, wait.
Oh, the artist is here. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Scott Frasher. He's the genius behind this artwork.
Okay.
I'm the guy behind the artwork.
And did we see other signs besides this with other presenters? Were they a little bit different than this one?
No, this call to artists was not that specific. This call to artists was just asking artists to come forward with unexpected artwork in whatever formats that they wanted to. Mr. Frasher developed this concept, and it's the only concept like this that we've received.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have to add anything?
I didn't hear everything that she said. What I would say personally from my experience was that I was excited to do something for the parks in Glendale, but I didn't know all of them. And through this process, I've gotten to know all of them, and I'm overwhelmed. And so it was really exciting that now my friends all think of me as, this kind of, I don't know, Johnny Appleseed of Glendale parks, because I always tell them, well, have you been to this park? It's amazing. And so then it was exciting that as part of this process, the thought of putting these pieces in different parks and then creating a map to them so that people who might like one piece and say, oh, I want to see more, they might discover other parks throughout the city. That was kind of the impetus behind it, but it worked for me. Like, I got to discover all the parks in Glendale and be really amazed by them.
And I'd like to add, from an economic development standpoint, this is certainly a project that we could promote. Glendale, as you know, has become a regional destination, and the Arts and Culture Commission would very much like for us to become a regional destination for arts and culture as well. This is the type of project that does definitely put us on the map in terms of art, and is something that we could definitely market and brand as an example of us being a 21st century city.
Well, the Americana Central area theoretically is a city park, right?
My understanding is
very
that,
theoretically.
Yeah, that's very
I wonder if
theoretical.
a sign could be put there is what I'm getting at. Query.
you're going to continue developing on this concept?
Yes, absolutely.
Still? Okay. And then we would see the final proposal, or?
Well, if you approve today, we would go ahead with the proposal and go ahead with contract negotiation with Mr. Froscher. Of course, I would come back to yourselves and present to you exactly what's happening, but we would work with staff to move on forward with this.
For instance, if there was something particular, I put this together just based on my emotional reaction to all the spaces I was in. If there's something, if there's something that you guys know about, or that there's something that you're specifically trying to promote, or that you think is interesting, I'm certainly willing to be flexible to, I want to fit in with the goals of the city.
Do we have any recommendations for him?
As
I
far as
wonder if, like, the Paseo...
Not at the moment, but
I
it
wonder
is
if
an
those-
interesting proposal.
What about like the Paseo to and from the Orange Street parking structure, the Chess Park, I guess it's called, and maybe the Paseo between Central Park and Brand, near the Art Museum or near the Neon Museum? I wonder if those are areas that could be.
We can include those. We can ask the artists to look at those locations. Currently, the Chess Park is closed. It'll be closed for probably mid-August because of the Chess Park Tavern construction. But we can look at both Paseo and the Chess Park.
And Commissioner Fada, I'd just like to point out that one safety consideration is that these signs do look like street signs. So part of our scoping locations was that they could not be visible to anyone driving or even parking a car. So some of the locations may be prohibitive because they could disrupt our safety.
Sure, I understand, sure.
Okay, it's hard to know all the parks. We're very rich with parks. I hope you did went
40.
to all of them.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Good job. Okay, thank you very much.
Should we make a motion to approve?
Yeah.
Well, I move we approve the project as described to us.
Okay.
Thank you very
Commissioners
much.
Asatrian,
Yes.
Fuad,
Yes?
Michaels,
Yes.
who is absent, President Kalfayan.
Yes. Okay, the
I
project
don't
is
think
approved.
you were here, but I did note that I thought it was a very cool concept, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Thank you.
I think it really fits the theme of the project, which is in itself absolutely fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Next is item 7, reports information only at A Adult Recreation Center and Senior Programs Annual Report.
I'll introduce myself. Sorry, I was kind of waiting for this big introduction. Good afternoon, President Kalfayan and Commissioners. My name is Julianne Leviant. I am the supervisor over at the Adult Recreation Center. And let me get my little clicker here. Sorry about that. And I am super nervous, so I will try to look and not read my notes. So the ARC has been at its current location coming on 7 years. The ARC is one of 4 community centers located in the city of Glendale. The ARC caters mostly to the senior population, but all ages are welcome. I've been calling it the ARC. The Adult Recreation Center is commonly known as the ARC, but some people do not know that, so I'm sorry I did not mention that earlier. Let's see. So facility features and amenities. So our lounge. The lounge is located on the east side of the building, and this is important because we do have the pickup drop-off off of Louise for Dial-A-Ride. So the lounge, seniors and other participants are able to wait for their ride, whether it be Access or Dial-A-Ride, but they can also watch a variety of programming. You can see there's football going on one side, and news, which has been ever since we had it open for Olympics and elections, and it's been really busy and constantly used. So we're able to put in a few more chairs. So the dining hall. Our dining hall is our largest room. It's dining hall A and B. You can separate it with a partition, so you can just have one side with the stage, or you can have the other side without the stage, or open it up and have the whole thing. This is one of our busiest rooms in the morning. We do have exercise classes, and staff has to immediately change it over to look like this for the lunch program. And then right after that, we change it and switch it over to a drop-in table tennis program. And also, this is a very popular room to rent. So there's a lot of rentals. We have up to a 220 capacity like this. We did squeeze in a little bit more with the auditorium style when we worked with a rental last week, and it was safe by the fire department, so you can get a little more than that if you're doing auditorium style. Okay, sorry, now I have to do the switch. The game room, which is aptly named the billiards room, because that is predominantly what it is used for because of the popularity of billiards. You look in there and there's always at least 18 to 20 people in there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, constantly. And it's amazing because it's used all the time. We are always taking care of the billiards tables to make sure they're in the best condition for them. And again, on Thursday and Friday, they're there from 8 to 5, which is the whole day. And that's with a lot of our seniors, too. So this is our exercise room. We have 2 recumbent bikes, 2 ellipticals, and we also have 2 treadmills along with a variety of other machinery and free weights. And this is an additional fee. It is an additional $50 a year for seniors who are 60 and over, and then it is also an additional $80 a year for 18 to 59. And I say additional because the original activity cards are $10 for seniors 60 and over, and they're $25 for 18 to 59. So if they buy both of that, even $105 for someone who's 45 is still a good rate for a year for a gym that's open till 8. So it is open to the whole community. Okay. The courtyards, of course, which I wrote wonderful stuff about. So along with the dining hall, there are many opportunities for rentals, and some of these are our upper and lower courtyards. And during the day, participants are able to, you can see in the lower courtyard, they're playing backgammon and dominoes and cards. And then in the upper courtyard, they're able to get into groups and talk and socialize. So during our lunchtime events, the ARC staff provides celebrations for, I'm sorry, I'm going to get caught up. Okay, during the senior meal program, the ARC staff provide decorations, entertainment, and giveaways for the events. The meals program works very hard to provide a healthy lunch that's also festive. Drop-in and recreational activities, I'll let you go ahead and see what we have to offer. We have karaoke twice a week because there was such a demand for it. The ARC has many drop-in classes where you can come in and play backgammon and dominoes, cards, and then here's our senior mixer and our table tennis program. Available service are tap card reloading, Beeline Pass sales, and we do health screenings, informational presentations, and we also work with High Cap, which is helping with seniors, and they're through the county, so they're not trying to sell anything, they're just offering information. Drop-in exercise classes, it's if we're not doing it in the morning in the dining hall, we're out at the Tai Chi garden and using other rooms like the multi-purpose rooms. And we also do classes with Glendale Community College, and we do lip reading and film appreciation. Some of our collaborations, Zedek, this week we are doing a last will and testament workshop that has been filled since last week. So Zedek's doing that on Friday. And we also work with some of these organizations come in and give the seniors information, offer any help they need. Whew. Any questions?
Very good.
Okay.
Just one quick question. Are you seeing participation increase? Or is it staying roughly the same?
You know, it is increasing. We are getting a lot of people that we are getting a lot more women, and we are getting a lot younger people coming in, a lot of younger seniors. And so I do see an increase in that.
How are you spreading the word about it?
About the center, oh my gosh, a lot of it has been word of mouth, especially with rentals. One person will come in, see the rental, and have that. As far as everything else, the leisure guide, all the things that we have within the city, we use to promote it. Did you have any suggestions? Okay, we'll talk later.
The programs you offer there, are they limited, or we can expand it?
We can expand, and we are currently taking a group from the YMCA that is no longer able to have their program there, and we are turning it into another opportunity for somebody to come in, and this is a duplicate bridge program. So we don't have that. We had something else. So we're open to expanding on any level. Anybody that brings in any idea, if it's doable, I check with staff and make sure it's okay. So
I guess it depends on the demand.
No, well, I mean,
the community.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you. Next item, please.
Next, we have item 7B, Senior Services Annual Report.
Good afternoon, President Kalfayan, Commissioners and staff. I'm Maggie Kavarian with the Community Services and Parks Department. I'm the Community Services Supervisor overseeing the Senior Services programs. And I'm going to also go ahead and get started with our presentation. The Senior Services programs has basically three components: supportive services, home-delivered meals, and congregate meals. Our supportive services program is housed at the Adult Recreation Center, and our case managers oversee about 120 unduplicated seniors every year needing assistance. Referrals come from within city departments, from Adult Protective Services, from our three local area hospitals, out-of-state family, and neighbors and landlords. What do we do in supportive services? Well, we deal with cleaning services, hoarding issues. As you can see, this is one of our more dire cases. Hospice care, utility assistance, and benefits enrollment. So the seniors that come in to utilize the supportive services program have a lot of needs that need to be addressed. We also have our senior nutrition program, and one component of that is the home delivered meals program. It's better known as Meals on Wheels to many. And the home delivered meals program has certain requirements. You have to be 60 years of age or older. You must be homebound, and you must reside in Glendale, La Crescenta, or Montrose. And the reason for that is we have a city meal driver that delivers the meals to the seniors at home. We've included what the delivery service includes. There's 7 frozen meals with milk, bread, fresh fruit. We took a picture of what a meal would look like once prepped. Aside from the home delivered meals program, because it's the county program, they added an extra layer to home delivered meals. They now require each agency to provide emergency meals in case of disaster. This is earthquake country. So every year our case managers set up 3 non-perishable food items, enough for 3 days, to send to our seniors so they could have that. And we send those out annually to our seniors. We also have our congregate meals program. We serve over 40,000 meals annually in our congregate meals program. One of the sites, of course, you had just heard, Adult Recreation Center, we serve meals 7 days a week there. At Spar Heights Community Center, we serve meals Monday through Friday. And at Pacific Park Community Center, we serve meals Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We ask for a $2.50 donation, and no senior is ever turned away. And again, we wanted to provide a meal and what it looks like. Iris had mentioned our Senior Street Fest. May, it's interesting that you had Julianne up here and now myself. May is Older Americans Month. The entire nation celebrates Older Americans Month. And in this May, the theme is #AgeOutLoud. We know that seniors are getting younger, as Julianne had mentioned. And we wanted to celebrate that. And the way we wanted to celebrate was with a Senior Street Fest. We felt that seniors can come out, enjoy, listen to some music. We were going to provide lunch, and all of this is happening this Wednesday. And we invite you to join us. It's between 10:30 and 1:30 on the 17th, and it's going to be at the Maryland Paseo. We also were at City Council on May 2nd to celebrate Older Americans Month and to accept the proclamation, and there is our senior who's accepting the proclamation. She doesn't look like a regular senior. So age out loud. Last year, we participated in the 90-plus birthday celebration, and we wanted to share with you some photos of that, and it was an Under the Sea theme. This year, we want to invite you to the 90-plus birthday celebration, which is a 1940s theme, and it'll be on Thursday, May 25th, and again, we invite you to join us for this celebration. We also nominate every year a senior that we feel has went above and beyond in volunteerism. And the Los Angeles County Older Americans Recognition Day is kind of a piggyback of our Older Americans Month. And this is our last year's photos with, last year's theme was Blaze a Trail, so we nominated a couple of gentlemen from the Parks and Open Space. So they help out at Duke-Majan Wilderness Park. So they're recognized. This year we are members of the Meals on Wheels Association of America, and they had a really cool pilot project called hashtag is very popular this year apparently, Let's Do Lunch. And it was trying to get millennials to join and volunteer in the Senior Nutritional Meals Program. So City of Glendale decided to do this, and it was a major success, and we're going to probably do it again this year. So in September and October, we had city staff give up their lunch hour to come to the senior center and to serve lunch to our seniors. And I think you've noticed some people there from our own team here at the Community Services and Parks Department. I won't mention names, but they're up there. We also had our Thanksgiving food drive. This year we provided totes for seniors because they can go to the grocery store and reuse them, and we put our logo and everything on them. And we filled up about 120 tote bags, again, donated from city staff all around the city of Glendale. Every year we participate in Santa to a Senior program. There is a group, Home Instead Senior Care, that provides us with gifts for seniors. And every year our meal driver, or I should say our previous meal driver, would dress up as Santa and deliver the meals and those gifts to our seniors. So it really brightened up their day. So just to recap, we have 41,000 seniors that live in the city of Glendale that are 60 years and older. We serve 120 unduplicated seniors annually in our supportive services program. We serve over 40,000 congregate meals. Over 11,000 home-delivered meals are delivered annually, and we make over 2,000 telephone reassurance calls every year. We are also very proud that we're the only city in all of LA County that offers an opportunity for a senior to eat a hot lunch 7 days a week. Our funding comes from Los Angeles County grants, our participant donations, which were $2.50 per meal. City of Glendale also provides us with funding through the general fund, and then every now and then, every year or so, we get one-time only grants, and this year we had a $5,000 grant. And that is the end of my presentation. Any questions?
When you're delivering those frozen food, is it weekly or monthly? How does it go?
It's weekly. It's usually, if it's a hot meal, they deliver it daily, but the way we have our system in place, it's 7 frozen meals, so seniors have a visit once a week, but then they also have a choice of what they want to eat for that week because their food items are labeled. So if they feel like spaghetti one day or fish another, they can just pull it out of their freezer and warm it up.
They're all healthy food.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. And what was the the funds from General Glendale General Funds? What was that?
How much?
How much?
It's about $84,500 per year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for doing this very important work. It's very impressive, each of the programs, actually. The one recommendation I did have, especially in the meal program, if you're going to be, or the lunch program, to expand that to perhaps not just staff within the city, but also include community organizations and volunteers. I'm not sure how that can be coordinated, but I think there will be a lot of people. I think Glendale's very rich in just general public willing to volunteer.
Definitely.
So if we can possibly expand that and do a collaboration with the city, that would be great.
Definitely.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next, we have item 7C, section activity reports. At 1 is recreation and community services.
Good afternoon, President Kalfayan. You have the Recreation Monthly Activity Report in front of you, but I do want to highlight 2 things that took place in the last few weeks. On May 1st, we had day camp registrations, so we just briefly wanted to give you an update. And then also on May 13th, we had aquatics registrations. We'll be back with a detailed report for both at the end of summer when we complete the program, but just wanted to highlight that. On May 1st, when we had day camp registrations, in the first 3 days of registrations, we registered 3,677 participants, of which only 205 of those were non-residents, so that's only 5%. Majority were Glendale residents, and we did provide priority registrations this year to Glendale residents. So the first day, we only registered Glendale residents and then opened it up to non-residents. We also received 14 scholarship applications, of which 9 received full scholarships and 2 received 10% discounts. The others did not qualify. Either they didn't provide the proper documentations that were necessary, or they did not meet the income qualifications. On May 13th, which was this past Saturday, we had aquatics registrations, and staff enrolled 1,319 participants, of which 67 were non-residents. So the majority of that, it's again 5% of the registrants were also majority Glendale residents. So we just wanted to give you that quick update and highlight those 2 since we did spend a lot of time here talking about it, but staff will come back with a detailed report as to the programming and total registrations and the revenue from them at the end of summer when we complete the program.
She has a question.
Yes.
Were the number of non-residents, did it increase or decrease this year?
I won't be able to tell you right now if it was more or less because I'm not sure that we tracked those numbers in the beginning of, in the first day or first 2 days of registrations last year, but we'll be able to report on the total registrations at the end of summer. So we'll make sure to include that information at the end of summer when we report the total registrations. But at this point, I don't have those numbers from last year.
And then the second question is, how smooth was the registration process? I know the staff was concerned about the overflow of people and changing the structure in which you were. Was it a smooth process, or did you guys have a lot of backup?
I think this was it was my first year being present at the registrations, and from my personal experience and from what I saw, I think it was a pretty smooth process considering we had at least 3 different or new things, and I'm looking over to my senior supervisors to chime in if they feel differently, but from our debriefings and from what I witnessed, I think it was a pretty smooth process considering we introduced Glendale residency registration for day camps only on the first day. We also increased the fees, and we had non-resident fees. And for the most part, as we all know, we can't please everybody, and there's always going to be people who were upset, but there was really nobody yelling or complaining. And I personally did not receive, I'm not sure that ONIG did, but we didn't receive any complaints from the community. I think we heard a little bit of maybe complaints from the non-residents because the day camp program at Pacific is so popular. So I think the non-residents weren't very happy that the Glendale residents got priority because obviously they wanted to be able to be part of the program. But I think for the most part it went smoothly. We will definitely look at areas of improvement and look to streamline the process even more going forward because the residency verification, this was the first year for us as well. And for the most part, I think it went smoothly and people brought in their 2 forms of verification as requested. But just for staff and also for the residents, we'll look at some other options and take in the recommendations we heard from the residents that had to sit there for a few hours while we try to process them. As you could tell, we did process a lot of registrants on that day. And of course, it takes time, but I think staff did a really good job of preparing in advance and trying to get people out as soon as possible. But it's not easy to get 3,000 people, participants registered and out the door. So I think for the most part, people were patient and it went smoothly. Mm-hmm.
I know the more detailed numbers are coming. Do you have any other impressions from yourself or from others in the staff of how this year compares to years past?
I don't, unless the senior supervisors want to come say anything specific, but I think for the most part, we would probably look at or consider maybe one thing that I've kind of thought in my mind is maybe verifying residency in advance, so allowing people to bring their forms of verification before the first day. So that's one thing that we will look at and see and consider for future years. And also the process overall in trying to find out or figure out if there would be a faster process and trying to, for aquatics, I think people were lined up outside prior to 5 a.m., even though we announced registration's location at 6 a.m. I think there were still people because the last 3 years it's been at the same location. They assumed it was at the same location. And so they were lined up outside of Pacific. And so for somebody who's been standing out there from 4 a.m. and doesn't necessarily, and again, people coming after them, but we passed out numbers, and I know we were above 400 when I left, and so for some people it was a long day. So we'll look at how to best speed up the process if possible, and if we're able to move them along faster. But we'll evaluate and debrief because we really haven't had a chance to sit down with the supervisors. And I see Seva came up, so he has more experience from prior years.
Well, again, you didn't turn anybody away for lack of space. Is that correct? Or did you?
We sold out at Pacific. For Pacific Community Center, we sold out on a couple of the weeks of camp. So yes, there were some people who weren't necessarily turned away, but if they wanted to register their children for all 10 weeks of camp at Pacific Community Center, they weren't able to. So they may have only been able to register for three or four different weeks at that specific camp. But nobody was necessarily turned away. They always had other options.
The reason I ask is that people were lining up at 4 and 5 a.m. Maybe they don't need to, I guess, because there's...
Depends on, right. It depends on, I guess, which, and that one was specifically for aquatics, so if Gabrielle wants to chime in.
Sure. Hi, I'm Gabrielle Golia, Senior Community Services Supervisor. President Kalfayan, members of the Commission, I did handle the aquatics registration this past Saturday, and we did have people lined up extraordinarily early, but we didn't turn anybody away. And based on that observation with all of our classes, only 2 of all of the classes that we offered were full, and those were little 30-minute sessions, so there were other options for all of the customers. Staff are exploring possibly doing all online or online and in person live on the same day next year. Different methods, since the demand was there, everybody thought there was going to be a rush on all of these classes and that they'd get turned away, but we had enough spaces to accommodate everyone, so we think we can handle online next year so people can do it from the comfort of their own home. And most people can do it all at the same time instead of having to wait for our limited cash registers. They will be able to process it themselves from home. So we think that will definitely make our customers significantly happier next year.
Good.
President Kalfai, members of the Commission, my name is Sava Garabedian, Senior Community Services Supervisor, and I'm one of the supervisor for the community centers. So with regards to day camp registration, we didn't get any complaints like we did in the past. We had a couple of people call our admin office here downstairs and say we were taking a little too long in terms of registering from the time we would call one number to the next. But we did the math here, and we were at about 1.5 minutes per person during registration in those 3 or 4 hours, and then it took one person approximately 6 minutes from beginning to end. So it wasn't like we were just having a staff party in the back. We were cranking them out as fast as possible, but even at that, that was the complaint, because they weren't seeing us in the back, actually doing the work until they got back there. So that was one. And the other complaint that I got after the fact was telephone registration. So what we didn't do is we didn't pick up our telephone lines at the community center until all the people were registered that were there in person. And people were kind of hoping that they could register over the phone. And our response was, well, if I pick up the phone and I register you just cut in front of 150 people that are there in person. So making that additional outreach and statement and saying, we'll do the phone in the afternoon or after a specific time of day, knowing that every person that was there in person got registered first. That way nobody's really cutting line. Last year, we experienced somebody waiting in line and then calling and registering and said, I'm out. 60 people are in front of them. I just registered over the phone, and that was one of the issues we had. So that wasn't very fair, so we addressed that. Now we got to cover that in as well. And then one other thing is weekend as opposed to weekday. So that's something that we're really considering, especially for day camp registration. So we could accommodate most everybody that works on Monday through Friday. We're not going to be able to accommodate that person that doesn't work on a Saturday or Sunday, but we're really considering pushing it to the weekend as opposed to Monday morning.
You considered online registrations?
We did consider online, and actually we did have online registration, but the way our online system is set up, we thought that the first day for resident only, for the verification purposes and all of that, online registration would take a hold until the following day. So the following morning at 9 a.m. it was open to anybody and everybody, general registration and online registration. And that came up with a little problem that people wouldn't know about other than us who are doing the registration, and that was at 9 o'clock in the morning we had another line the next day about 7 people deep, or it went up as much as 11. And I had 2 cashiers ready for that general registration day. But those 2 cashiers now have to register these people at 9 o'clock in the morning, but they're also completing with anybody that's sitting behind their computer taking up those same spots. So we had to, at 8:15, kind of scramble, open up more registers, figure out a way so that if her and I are registering simultaneously and all of you guys are online and there's only 2 spots available for one specific week, we all got a fair chance and we didn't eliminate that process. So when that online happened, everybody's competing with each other, and that's what we noticed this year. So,
thank you.
Can you save material from one year to the next? If they verify they're resident this year, can you use that next year?
Yes, that's what we're in the process of. Teresa, correct me if I'm wrong on how we're going to approach that.
Yes, President Kalfai and Commissioner Fuad, I think that's one of the things that staff has been talking about, whether we do this as an annual process or we do this biannually, because as we know, people do move, but it's probably less likely that they move every year. So in order to be able to capture that, we're thinking maybe a biannual process and giving, again, with looking at and exploring the option to verify a residency prior to registrations, then we can open up online registrations on the first day, because unless we want to do priority registration. I mean, even if we do want to do priority registrations, I think it might be a system limitation if the system allows Glendale residents to register, on the first day and then opens up to non-residents. But this year, we didn't have a good way of verifying addresses before registration. So we made it where it was in person only. So we'll kind of work through these kinks for next year and figure out if we could offer that as an option and make sure the system can handle, once it's been verified, the addresses, because if you set up an account from your computer, the system has no way of verifying whether you really are a Glendale resident or not. So, well, that's definitely one of the things we will be looking at between now and next summer.
On that note, if you are going to be considering an online, there's a couple of formats within forms that you can use conditional logic when building the form that allows for you to actually, the system itself identifies the address and links it to, for example, the conditions that you place, that it has to be a Glendale resident, for example. The system actually is able to identify that. So I'd be more than happy to forward on the information. I don't know what the city system is that you guys are using, but there's a lot of conditional logic that you can use within forms to be able to obtain that prior to the registration date.
Commissioner Satrian, definitely we would love to try whatever works. RecTrack is the system that we do use, and I know Gabrielle and Sebag are more familiar with the system than I am, but I know that it had limitations as far as being able to verify the addresses, but I think, and as far as verifying residency with the forms that we were, like the 2 forms of bills that we were requiring. So if we're able to do that, maybe next year we'll be able to, but definitely if they're, because it is the RecTrack system we're using and not necessarily like a specific form we've created, we are dependent on the system's limitations, but we'll definitely look into any options that we can incorporate as part of RecTrack registration system. So thank you.
Questions? Thank you. Next item, please.
Next, we have item 7C2, Park Services.
Yes, good afternoon, President Kalfai and members of the Commission. For the month of April, our staff completed 256 work orders, of which 177 were completed by the groundskeepers, 17 by past that applicator, and 62 of irrigation repair crew, for total labor hours of 878 hours. And as in every month, we have a couple of projects we'd like to highlight for you. The first one was at Carr Park. Given all the rains we experienced, there was a lot of water and mud flow into the play area of Carr Park, and the Carr Park slopes towards the south a little bit, so every time it rains, the playground does get impacted with mud and debris. And this time around, as you can see, it was completely filled with mud. We had to bring in heavy equipment to get a lot of debris out of there. And we had an entire crew working on lowering the level, because you want to have a certain level of the fly bar, which is the wood chips, as they call it, specifically designed for playground safety. You want to have a certain level, so we had to drop the levels of the mud down, the dirt, to be able to put them so that the impact continuation, if a kid falls in a certain area, will be able to absorb and the children will not get hurt. I mean, with that, we cleared all the pathways, as you can see, the ADA entrance, the curbs, and as we were trying to dig, we found a lot of the tree roots growing in there, which made it a bit more challenging, and having to now yank out large tree roots to be able to keep it cleared. Once everything was leveled, cleared out, we made sure that there was no large pieces of debris or branches in the mix. A quick walkthrough of the play area, we were able to assess that, make sure no rocks or debris was in the playfield. And then we hired a contractor for Carr Park to come in and blow the fly bar in. In most of our facilities, we're able to do the work ourselves. But with Carr Park, the heavy equipment we're not able to drive into because of the narrow path of the gate and the driveway. With that, for Carr Park, as you can see, they have a long 200-foot hose that they will load up to the truck outside and have it blown in. And once they're done, we have a very lovely playground and safe for the kids to use for the summer. We will continue this with most of our other facilities that we have FIBAR. That way, once the winter is done, spring, summer, and throughout the rest of the year until next spring, we'll have FIBAR replaced in all of our facilities. Another project was over at Dunsmore Park. As part of our ongoing efforts to reduce water consumptions, we identify areas of turf that are not necessary to be turf. So the picnic areas over in the north end of Dunsmore Park had these little rectangular shaped level, quadruple level tiers. And what we've done is gone in there and removed the turf and put in mulch. It's a lot cleaner. We don't have to worry about using water, don't have to worry about a lot of the maintenance, and it helps keep the weeds down. This is the parking lot level. As you move, it's still parking lot. As you move up to the other tiers, went from grass to mulch. And we are going to be continuing looking for options and opportunities to remove turf in areas that are not necessary, passive areas, picnic areas, outer skirts of the parks, and replace it with mulch. The Brand Park Day Camp area. This is a project that we took on earlier this year. We knew it to be a long-term project, and we talked about it a couple of times here. This is the day camp area that has not been open more or less to the public for picnicking. It did not have any water. The existing irrigation was not functioning. And after the contractors came in, put up all the lights in the facility, they actually put lights in this area too. So now we have an area that is enhanced lighting, and we wanted to make it usable by the public yet again. We have a lot of tree work to do, trimming to get the area cleared up. But as we took on the project, this very upper end, it is a flat land that we used to use mulch, stored mulch. We decided to remove all the mulch from this area to make the area open for public use. Heavy equipment moved it to an alternate site where the public can get their free mulch. We also had a number of these pine trees that were burnt several years back. There may have been a fire in this area that burnt a lot of the trees, and all these palm trees were kind of condensed together. One of the things we did is clear that out, removed some of them to open the area for additional trees, shade trees that we want to plant. And getting ready, we had several issues. One, the irrigation is not functioning. Number two, we had to get water from this end across the street to the other one. And not only that, we had to go 100 yards down, 300 feet, to the other side of the library to get a point of connection, a POC. So we had to pull 300 feet of piping to be able to get to this stage and then get it across the other side so we have recycled water for the turf. We did not want to use potable water for this project. So we had to go from this side to the other across the paved walkway. And the project started at the south end, 300 yards off, about 4-inch water piping with the POC, the point of connection. And as you see, gentlemen had to start tearing through with the saw cutting the driveway, taking out all the pavement, the asphalt, digging through the trench, all the way across to the other end. So the piping will continue on. Lay the piping, and after the piping is laid, just cover it up with the debris, with dirt again, compacted. And now started some of the grading work on the other side. All the existing picnic tables and benches were safely moved to the upper area so we can reuse them after the project is ready for installation. Once they were moved, we're able to just go in and kind of layer things out, get it all smooth and ready for the physical operation of irrigation installation, as well as, we're going to be planting seed over here for turf. And then we're going to bring the picnic tables back in. And there is a very neat walkway in the back that we're able to identify once we cleared all of the debris. The project is ongoing. As of right now, we hired a contractor to pull electrical to the area. We're going to put the controller, the irrigation controller. It was about 300 feet of power that they had to pull. Once they're done, we're right now pouring the frame for our irrigation clock and a booster for the water. The water pressure is very low, so we're putting in a booster on the south end to be able to make sure we have enough pressure so we don't put one valve per sprinkler. We need to increase the water pressure in this area. And it is ongoing. This month they'll be working on that, and as we get closer to the end of June, we'll probably have all the irrigation in place. The sod, the turf seeded, and the picnic tables start slowly coming back. And we're also going to plant in the outer perimeter, the skirts, so we can open up the entire area. Another project over at Montrose Park, this was vandalism as we always experience, graffiti. One of the picnic areas, the picnic benches, had a significant amount of graffiti that started looking pretty colorful. And so rather than trying to remove them, staff came in, just a 1 gallon paint and a brush, just cleared it up. And I think we're going to be carrying this on to a lot of our picnic tables, that you can only remove so much of the graffiti, but still could see some of the stains. So we'll be practicing this across a lot of our sites. The last project I'd like to highlight is the Wilson Mini Park project. As you know, through our colleagues in Public Works, we installed a restroom at Wilson Mini Park, the north end. Part of the installation, it took up the north end of the park where they had to, their construction equipment and staging area. With all of that, water to the park had to be shut off, so it resulted in a lot of the turf in the area dying. They had a new walkway put in, and the walkways, once you look at a close-up, they're elevated a little higher, which means it requires some leveling of the dirt, be able to get grass back growing in. Because these would be tripping hazards if left as they are. We brought in our crews. This should have been a picture just 2 steps ahead. We brought in over 200 cubic yards of sand, soil, to be able to level things off and grade it. We had staff level it. The area they're working on actually had a picnic table that was kind of in a downward slope 3 feet below. We decided to remove that picnic table and raise this up so there aren't any tripping hazards. It'll be more of a flush landscape in this area, and we'll be replacing the table at the east end of the park in the coming weeks. This was the table that we had to remove. And after the sand was brought in, the soil was brought in, we had to tamp it to make sure it hardens, allowing the sod to go in. This is all leveled, ready for sod installation. We hired a contractor to do the initial sod installation. Given that the area was very small, they couldn't bring in the heavy, big rolls that we do on the ball fields, roll out 100-yard long turf. These had to be the smaller squares, so it took a larger crew for them to come in. And the original intent was only to do the area that was impacted by construction. What you will note is as we went through it and finalized that end, you notice one area of the park is green and the other area of the park that had not had any water for months was dying out. So through direction of Mr. Bulanikian, we decided just to turf the entire park. So we kept moving the fences back. Meantime, always communicating with the residents that use it and eagerly were waiting to use the park. We bought another week in the facility, went in, we detached the turf, we aerated it, we brought in our another 3,000 square feet of sod, and using our crews, loaded them onto the wheelbarrows, took them to the sites, and had our crews install all of the sod for the remaining of the park. I mean, with that, once the project was done, the sod was laid, we put in sand in the areas where the 2 pieces of sod meet, so it helps grow and doesn't burn the roots. And once the sand was, placed, we had our guys go over it with the barrels, kind of to put a more of a pressure impact. And this is what the park looks like now. The sod came in very well. We're very pleased with the project, and our residents are, I believe, have been very pleased with using the park. As we come in the next coming months, we're going to probably put some more planting in the easternmost wall. As you see, the landscaping over there is that out. We'll put some landscaping, and also working with the contractor to the playground itself to do a poured-in-place rubberized surfacing. So now we're practically going to give our residents a brand new park at Wilson Mini. That is all I have for this month. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them for you.
Good job. Difficult but good. Any questions? Any more items?
No, that was the last item.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned.